All right. I have to tell you guys, today I am feeling a little bit black pilled, or maybe a lot black pilled. And for people who don't really know what that means, if you've seen the movie The Matrix, you've got the red pill, the blue pill. Take the red pill, you get to see all the real stuff. Blue pill, you get to be oblivious to it. And then there's a white pill and a black pill. White pill is you have hope, everything is great. Black pill is it's gone to crap and we're in trouble. Oh boy. Okay. So I haven't talked in a while about the Charlie Kirk assassination, and I haven't mentioned anything about it because I've just been watching a ton of stuff and I've been waiting to watch all these different people on X and Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and TikTok and everywhere you can go, pulling at all these threads and seeing where they go. And of course, one of the number one people I've been watching is Candace Owens. And while I don't agree with everything that Candace is coming up with, she's been pulling on some really, really interesting threads. I wish she would do the same thing with the Vatican, but I bet she won't since she's a Catholic. But that's beside the point. Anyway, I am still firmly in the camp where everything seems fishy, and the official story that we're being told that some liberal wackadoo lost his mind, couldn't stand the things that Charlie Kirk was saying, and decided to take him out with a huge hunting rifle is not true, obviously. There's nothing to me that even shows that to be true. There's no evidence about it, but that seems to be the story that we're going to continue with, and they're shutting down anything else that has nothing to do with that. And believe me, I wish that was the truth, because that would be so easy to believe, and it's what I want to believe, but that's also the blue pill. The red pill is Charlie Kirk was taken out. We're trying to figure out by who. And a lot of people are saying, well, Candace is saying that it's a certain country over in the Middle East. And I haven't heard her saying that directly. And she's been pulling on so many different threads. I honestly don't know who she thinks did it. I know that she's not blaming Erica Kirk like a lot of people are. And that's about it. I mean, she's going after TPUSA. She's going after military. She's going after that other country, Zionists, what have you. There's a lot of threads here, which, I mean, all of the above could be involved possibly. But what I want to talk about on this video and what has blackpilled me is some other stuff that's come out about TPUSA that is so troubling. And there was something that bothered me immediately after Charlie Kirk passed away that I just kind of put in a drawer and closed the drawer. I did say something to Kelly about it, who, for those of you who don't know, that's my wife. It was a few days after Charlie had passed away and people were digging into his personal life. And then there was a lot of people who were digging into Erica's life. And there is some weird stuff in her life, especially with her parents and weapons they were building and their involvement in nuclear stuff. And there's really troubling stuff when you look at Erica's family. I'm also troubled by the fact that we don't look at Charlie Kirk's family at all. I saw them at the ceremony where he got the Medal of Freedom from the back, but that's pretty much the only time I've seen his parents. Now, maybe they are not public people and they don't want to talk about their son at all. For me personally, I would kind of want to talk about Charlie, but anyway, it's their decision. But one of the things that had troubled me with stuff that was getting pulled back about Erica Kirk and things is it came out that the Kirks had sold a home shortly before Charlie had passed away. I think it was 2 or 3 months before. And they called it a mansion. And I was like, okay, well, I do haunted history, and mansions, that term can be used for a variety of homes, like things that they were calling mansions back in the day. We kind of look at it and go, oh, that's a really big house. It's not really a mansion. But we also have things today that are what I would call a muck mansion. So they're, these huge, ostentatious homes that no person could possibly ever need or actually live in, with like 50 rooms and stuff, unless you're moving in your extended family. So I was like, okay, well, what are they talking about? So I went and I looked online and I saw what this mansion looked like, and it was huge. And then I saw that I think they had initially bought it for It was either $3 or $4 million. I don't know the amount, but they were trying to sell it for $7 million. And a little thing in my brain kind of exploded because I was like, wait, that's not who I thought Charlie Kirk was. I mean, it was almost like a mask got pulled off for a minute. And then I said, can you put that mask back on? Because I'm uncomfortable. I'm always uncomfortable with any nonprofits where people are making a ton of money. I have the same feeling about mega churches. You see these huge, ostentatious churches and the pastor's driving a Mercedes, and I'm like, wait a minute. If you're the church, aren't you supposed to be the core of, like, I don't agree with us having all of this welfare out there. It was the churches and other community organizations that were supposed to take care of the less fortunate, not the government. You don't want the government doing that. Because, like, when the government shuts down, what happened? Oh, SNAP benefits went away. It doesn't happen if the church or the community is taking care of the people. So I don't want government involved in that for that specific reason, not because I'm a hateful, awful person that doesn't want the underprivileged to be taken care of. We should be doing that. So if you're running a nonprofit, it's nonprofit. Why is there huge profits? I don't give to any charity anymore because when 9/11 happened, we did like this big kickathon with Taekwondo. We made, several hundreds, maybe even thousands, I don't know. And we sent it to the American Red Cross. And then the Red Cross came out a little bit after 9/11. You guys may recall this back in the day where they were like, well, we didn't really need it for anything because like everybody just died and the buildings are gone. So what are we going to put the money towards? So, we needed some new desks and computers and stuff like that. So we just used it for that. And I went, what? That's not what I gave my money for. And then you see these CEOs that are making seven figures and it's like, wait a minute. If you're running a charity, why are you making that much money? I mean, I know it's a big job, but when you go into that kind of work, you're not supposed to be expecting to get rich. I'm like, I work my butt off and I'm not making millions, and you're supposed to not be making a lot because you're serving something, I thought. I don't know. Anyway, all of that is to say that in my brain, I went, okay, well, I'm sure that this extra money that Charlie was making, he had probably a top 20 podcast. And if you've got a top 20 podcast, you're making millions. I mean, frankly, off ads and other things. So I was like, well, he's probably making his money off of that. That's what I was hoping until today. So the problem we're having with the assassination with Charlie is where's the motive? It's easy to believe that a liberal whack job just got angry and lost his mind and decided to kill him because he's just being stupid, But we know that that's not what happened here. So why was he killed? Was it because he was turning on a certain country over in the Middle East? A lot of people are putting that idea out there. And he was kind of worried about whatever they were doing with the money there. And he was being really pressured. But then there was also this thing that came out that said he wanted to have a Doge-like committee or what have you to do an audit of TPUSA because he's like, where's all the money going? Because the other thing that troubled me a little bit is they were going, this kid built this thing from nothing to $100 million. And I went, $100 million? What? That's a lot of money. That's troubling. Where's all that money coming from? That's not mom and dad and grandma giving 10 and 20 bucks. Where's that money coming from? Who's buying what here? And then at the end of the year, they have like $5 million left in the coffer. What is going on? So yeah, I'm not shocked that Charlie would be looking and going, where's the money going? Well, some of it was into his pocket, and that is what is troubling me. So what I heard today, let me see if I can do this thing. Let's see, share. All right. Ooh, did I make this work? This is the first time I've ever done this. Okay, so this podcast here, DD Got a Podcast, he has some really interesting stuff on there. But what I did is I watched this right here. How is this not illegal? And it's talking about a forensic audit that this guy did. I believe it goes to 2022 is when it came out because TPUSA has just now released their stuff from 2023. I guess if you're a nonprofit, you can kind of take your time doing stuff. So let me get out of here and stop. Okay, where does it say stop share? So in the process of this guy who was on with him who did this audit, and I trust these guys, they're where I basically am, where it's like I have had enough of the Republicans. I've had enough of the Democrats, the government, everything. I look at all these conspiracies and stuff. So anyway, I took some screenshots that I was sharing on X today. And there's these four entities that are a part of TPUSA. There's TPUSA, which I'd heard about. There's TPUSA Faith. They didn't mention that at all. But then there's I think it's like Turning Point Action, I think is what it's called. And I'd heard of that. But there's two other entities. There's like some Turning Point PAC. There's a Turning Point PAC. And then there's America's Turning Point Inc. And I just did screenshot this part of it. And when this guy is doing the audit, these different entities are taking in money under the TPUSA umbrella. And then you have employees that are under each of them that get paid. Well, under these three other entities that are outside of the TPUSA bracket, there's 0 employees except for Charlie Kirk and Tyler Boyer. So there's just 2 of them. And the thing that is disturbing is that it's like they were both going to get these large payments out, but they knew it would look fishy. So they broke them into 4 under each of these 4 entities, and they're equally split up. So here's how it goes. You got Charlie, 400,000, 400,000, 400,000, 400,000, Tyler Boyer, 300,000, 300,000, 300,000, 300,000. And I'm not making up those numbers. I'm actually kind of rounding up just a little bit. 394 for Kirk, Bauer, 253. So a little high on that, but I was like, what? Now, it's not illegal to do that, but it's a little bit shady, don't you think? And I mean, I'm not thinking that the guys that are at the top of TPUSA are taking home millions of dollars that they're paying to themselves. And then as this guy is going through and doing more of the forensic analysis, you find out that these donors at the very beginning who were putting all this money in there formed all these LLCs, and then they're getting kickbacks. It is a laundering operation. When you look at what's happening there, it is without a doubt laundering money. And then you start looking at all of these NGOs and nonprofits, and you start going, are these all just laundering operations? Is this why people get rich off of all this stuff? Because they bring all this money in tax-free. And I mean, TPUSA was paying for things. If Charlie was a multimillionaire, like, shouldn't you pay for your own life insurance policy for your family? And TPUSA was paying for it. It's strange to me. There's just little things that make me go, huh. But then the problem that I'm having is I know that he wanted to run a Doge-like audit, or was he just giving that lip service? Maybe. But I'm like, if he's actually running a Doge-like audit, then he would know that this stuff would show up. So was he unaware? But how could you be unaware when you're getting that money tax-free? Where was the money going? I mean, I don't know. That's why I said I'm black-pilled right now, because I'm like, what is going on here? And here's the thing. Not only did I point out that the 2 guys on this video that we're talking about this, and I highly encourage you, I know it's 2 hours, but please watch it. It's IRS documentation. It's not like this guy's just making up numbers or just pulling stuff out of nowhere. This is what they filed with the IRS. And he goes through it and he's looking at it and going, what is going on here? And he gives all the information so that you can go and look at the IRS documentation for yourself. So what the hell is going on at TPUSA? Was the gig up? And they were like, okay, well, the best way we could get sympathy is to have the head get cut off. Now, I don't know if this guy's coming from the point of view that Charlie didn't really die, because there are people who are actually putting that out there too, that it was all just faked, which I don't know how you fake something like that. But that he's alive somewhere and this was maybe to cover them, I don't know. What I do know is it's still really, really fishy. And I don't know if we're ever going to get the answers. We've never gotten the answers when it comes to JFK and who did that there. I do believe that a country over in the Middle East was probably involved there because JFK did not want countries to get nuclear weapons. He was in a Cold War with the Soviet Union. And, we know what happened with Bay of Pigs and Cuba and everything like that. But can you imagine you've got this little country in the Middle East who's like, we want nuclear weapons too. And Kennedy was like, no, you cannot have nuclear weapons. And the next thing we know is heads getting blown off in Dallas. And maybe, just maybe, Lyndon Johnson said, hey, I'll be kosher. I'll go with it, because he did. He becomes the president, and then next thing you know, that country gets their nuclear weapons, and Lyndon B. Johnson becomes the president, and then we get all these wonderful programs that have just helped to destroy this country a little bit from the inside out. And Bush was there too that day, George Bush Sr. So anyway, that's what I think was going on with JFK. We will never get the truth about that. I do have to say that I voted for Trump 3 times. I was very excited this time. All these promises were made, and now I'm going, what in the world is happening here? And it's not just the Epstein stuff, but that really started to chisel away at the facade. Because then I went, okay, where are the people getting arrested? Where's Fauci? I mean, we thought all these things were going to happen, and what is happening is we're getting tariffs against other countries where we're being told, hey, we might give you a $2,000 check. Winky, winky, winky. Hopefully the Supreme Court doesn't rule against me. Supreme Court, if you rule against me, you're going to piss off the American people. And I don't know about you, but when he can go on and to Laura Ingram's face, tell her, yeah, prices are, affordability is great. Everything's fine. We're doing wonderful. Okay, this is a man who's probably never been in a grocery store in his life. Yeah, affordability. When I first started my cleaning business, well, when I was in Colorado, this was back in, let's see, we moved here in 2007. So I would have started that back in 2000, maybe something like that. Maybe 1999. I was charging $15 an hour. And of course, times change and everything. But when we first moved here in 2007, I was charging $18. And now from that time till now, I'm like up to $30 an hour, and maybe I'm going to have to go more because everything is just so expensive. I'm like, I got to pay my bills. It's insane. And here in Florida, we're getting a minimum wage of $15. It'll be implemented by next year. $15 an hour. That's what people in America have to make to just even sort of get by, which isn't going to get by because we know everything goes up because the minimum wage goes up. It is not getting more affordable. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm watching all this foreign policy stuff and tariffs and all this other stuff in other countries. And I'm like, what about America? I thought this was America first. And if you start griping about it, then there's something wrong with you. And no, there's nothing wrong with us. And I've never been like, Trump train, Trump train, Trump train. I am make America great again, but I'm America first, mostly. I want us above all. Not that our country needs to be supreme, but I mean, we come first for when it comes to our country, and that's not what is happening. And I don't see that as something that's going to be happening. I don't have a lot of hope for it. And for sure, if this continues, the midterms are done for the Republicans. The Democrats will get in. They will continue to impeach Donald Trump. He will get nothing done. And then in 2028, we will have a Democrat president again. I told you I was black-pilled. I think that's where we're going. And it's because they just can't do the right thing. Just do the right thing. We're telling you what to do. And you know why they won't do the right thing? Not only because they don't have courage, but they only care about themselves. I honestly totally believe that the Republicans like to be the minority party so that they could just point their finger and go, see what the Democrats are doing? They're destroying everything. Those evil, horrible Democrats, look at them. Because every time You give the Republicans power, they are kitty cats. And you know what I'm saying? They don't do anything. And then we end up in the place that we are every time. This is why I was part of the Tea Party, why I'm disgusted with them both. And I'm just over it. And we are going to lose our country if we can't get on top of this stuff. But even looking at the Charlie Kirk stuff, I'm like, the rot is everywhere. And I don't know how you get away from the rot. We celebrate 250 years of America next year. And that is the way longer than most republics have ever lasted. And you can't even call America a republic at this point anymore. So I don't know where we're heading. But one thing I do know is that God is always in control. He's got to be controlling some of this stuff out here for sure. And all we can do is pray and do our part. And I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you guys think when it comes to Charlie Kirk, TPUSA? And believe me, I have struggled when it comes to that country over in the Middle East because I was raised that those are God's people and he's going to put them back into their land and they're going to come around and everything's going to be great. And you get into the evangelical stuff and, there's still a plan for them and we've got to be focused on Israel and support Israel above all else, do the Ted Cruz thing, and I'm not there anymore. I can't watch what happened in Gaza. I can't watch the fact that beyond a shadow of a doubt for me, that what happened on October 7th was because Bibi and his government went, stand down, just like it happened for us here on September 11th. Everybody was told to stand down, let this happen, because they want to move us into the next phase of whatever they're doing. And so that's what we've watched happen here. So while I have no problem with the Jewish people, if these are the true Jewish people, because remember, the Jews were from Judah. These can't all be those people. I have a problem with the government of Israel for sure. So, I don't know. All right. You guys take care, and we'll keep bubbling up the truth. And what I'm thinking is going to end up being something called the Veritas Laboratory, Liberty Laboratory. I don't know, something, because for those of you who follow me on X, my moniker is Freedomstein Munster. So laboratory seems appropriate. We'll see where it goes.